Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
But who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And what he do?
And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer and Harley rider. Just thought I'd throw that in there because it is summertime. Anyway, we're reacting today to Donald Trump's arraignment, and we'll talk to you a little bit more about exactly what an arraignment is in a minute. But, you know, when you're dealing with your grandparents in your basement and, you know, they're doing questionable activities, but all of a sudden you think that they don't have their faculties and you need to have a power of attorney drafted. Well, you could do that through ESign because you can't leave them alone for 2 seconds. So you have somebody draft it, and then you go to esign.com, you download the app, you get 3 free signatures a month. Easy way to do business. So let's say you're also, maybe you want to go into business with somebody and you need an agreement done quickly. Well, you draft the agreement, you put it through ESign, and then you sign it. It's so easy to do. It's so easy to do, especially if your grandparents are in the business of whatever they're doing in your basement. I use it all the time for retainers agreements when people can't come into the office or if they're out of state. And it's just an effective way to remotely do business, especially if your grandparents are infirm and need some help. So let's talk about what we're here today to talk about, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is now been fully indicted, and this is the indictment right here. And his charges are 37 counts. And some of them are obstruction of justice, and some of them are the Espionage Act. Now, today he had his arraignment. What's an arraignment? Arraignment's where you walk in and they do 2 things. One, they read the charges to you, or you can waive reading. Generally, if you read and write English, you waive the reading of the indictment. And number 2, they determine conditions of release. And in this case, the judge, now, and let me also tell you, there's 2 different kinds of judges in the federal system. They're in district court, which is where he was, in Palm Beach County or whatever it was, in, you know, the Southern District of Florida, Miami. So there's 2 types of judges. You have the district court judge. That's the judge that oversees the trial. But then you have magistrate judges. A magistrate judge is a judge that hears all the preliminary things, like detention orders, motions, pretrial motions, any other kind of thing that has to do with pretrial and doesn't have anything to do with disposition of the case. It has everything to do with pretrial. So and the judges are teamed up. So you've got the magistrate, and this magistrate that handled the calendar today, I think his name is Gordon. His deal was just handling the arraignment calendar for today. So he's not going to be the magistrate handling this going forward. We know that Eileen Cannon is going to be the judge on this case. Now, there was a lawsuit when this was under investigation that Trump filed against the DOJ in order to kind of get access to things and to seek some relief, which you can't do. But she granted him that relief. It went up on the 11th Circuit, which is a very conservative circuit, and they blasted her, just absolutely blasted her. And that was by two of the judges were Trump appointees, which Cannon is. Today he's got this arraignment with a magistrate because it's a pretrial matter. So the judge will hear like pleas, sentencing, trials, anything that's, you know, where there's kind of a permanent decision. But if something happens with the magistrate, you can always appeal to the district court judge. It's not going to happen with this arraignment because it was pretty pro forma, pretty much. Pretty non-controversial. Nothing really happened during this that wasn't anticipated. But what did happen? So he entered a not guilty plea, and they also waived his right to read the indictment. And then the judge did set some conditions, and he did not make him surrender his passport, which is oftentimes the case. He did make him post a bond, and a lot of times they make you post a signature bond. You don't have to put any money up, but you just sign it, and who gives a shit on that? Because usually a $25,000 signature bond, and that's nothing to Trump, accordingly. So then the judge did impose a condition where he's not allowed to talk to any witnesses or his co-defendant, Walt Nauta. And so he's not supposed to talk to any of the witnesses or his co-defendant, Walt Nauta, about the case itself. That is pretty standard in a case like this. And let me tell you one of the wrinkles in this, that if I was the magistrate or the district court judge, I think I would have an issue with this. Who is paying for Walt's lawyers? It's not Trump directly. It is a PAC funded for and by, and controlled by Trump. And why is that a problem? That is a big hook, a big lever, a big hammer that Trump has that could be used to manipulate Walt. Now, Walt's defense, in all honesty, is going to be a little opposed to Trump's. And the reason that is I mean, some of the defenses are going to be similar, because if you say that the document wasn't classified, or that they had been declassified, or any of that kind of stuff. But to the extent that Trump made Nada do something, made Walt do anything, his defense has got to be that I acted on behalf of the President of the United States, or I acted on behalf of the former president, and I didn't know what I was doing or how I was doing. I didn't know it was illegal. I didn't know what was in the documents, that kind of thing. And to that extent, their defenses are antagonistic. And if they have antagonistic defenses, guess what? He's got the opportunity, or should have the opportunity, to cooperate. And what do we say about cooperating? They're snitches, right? And what do they get? Stitches. And where do they wind up? In ditches. So Walt Nada is really, his lawyers are funded and being controlled by Trump. And if I was the magistrate, or if I was the judge, I'd have a real problem with that. But we have Cannon. Eileen Cannon is a Trump appointee. She is in control of everything. She can control the schedule. She's in control of what evidence comes in. She's in control of the ultimate decision on these motions that they're going to file, and everything really related to the trial. She has to really watch herself, because you've got a very conservative 11th Circuit. You've got a very favorable venue for Trump, because it's Trump country down there. And, I mean, he won Florida twice. So Trump walks into the courthouse today, and essentially he's under arrest, and then he gets released when he goes to court. And they book him and take his fingerprints. I don't know if they took his picture or not, but that would be standard for them to do that in the U.S. Marshal Service. And when he goes back there, and he goes right back into holding, and that is where he goes. His lawyers aren't back there with him. And so it's an isolating thing. And I heard a little bit of the coverage today. And if you look, you can see how many people were there. It's a circus. The thing about it is this is going to be a difficult case to get a jury. And one of the things in federal court is the lawyers don't do a whole lot with jury selection. This is supposedly the rocket docket, and one of the things we'll see is how fast this judge, puts a schedule together. We don't have a future court date, except for now Walt Nada. He did not enter a plea today, for his arraignment. And why not? Because his lawyer was not admitted in Florida, and he didn't have local counsel. See, all these lawyers that are representing Trump and Walt Nada are lawyers who are from other jurisdictions. And when you're a lawyer in another jurisdiction and you're not admitted to Florida, you have to have local counsel to do what they call pro hoc vice. So pro hoc vice is when another lawyer basically vouches for you, and you operate sort of under his license, not really, but kind of. And so they're sort of your local lawyer that allows you to practice in a jurisdiction where you're not normally licensed. They have been looking for lawyers in Florida like crazy, and Nada did not have a local presence, so they didn't enter a not guilty plea today for him. So that's going to be in a few weeks. So where do we go from here? I think one of the first things you're going to see is a full array of motions filed by Trump's team. You're going to have a motion to dismiss the indictment. You're going to have a motion to suppress evidence. One of the things you're going to have is, and one of the pieces of evidence is the recording from Trump. I'm sure they're going to, and you also have, there's statements made by his lawyers to the grand jury that were when they filed a motion to pierce the attorney-client privilege, they appeared and testified before the grand jury. You can bet anything that Trump's lawyers are going to file a motion to exclude that testimony and preserve the attorney-client privilege. The only issue with that is where you have a crime fraud exception, there is no attorney-client privilege. So if you are anticipating a crime, in other words, let's just, I know we have this subpoena, but let's pluck some things out of there. That's not protected by privilege. That is, contemplating withholding evidence from a valid subpoena. There may be some stuff that's protected by privilege. I'm not entirely sure, but they've already gotten a ruling, and it would be hard pressed for this judge to go against that ruling. But she could. She absolutely could, and then limit that for trial. But we'll see as she gets her order out, and then we see the filings by Trump where this is all going to wind up. And two of his lawyers last week just dropped out. And we probably know why. Because he doesn't pay his lawyers and he doesn't take their advice. Two things you don't want in a client. So this has just been our reaction to Trump's indictment. Give you a little 411 on how the system works. You've got the magistrate, who's a buddy judge to the district court judge, handles all the preliminary stuff. The district court judge is the final say and handles all the things related to disposition. So it relates to trial, pleas, sentencing, that kind of stuff. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers with our content genius behind the camera, Michael Rivers. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away.
23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?